Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today. Didn't raise enough from your last event. Here's why and how to make sure it never happens again. Thank you all for joining us today. We have a info pack session for you all. If you are just joining us, please make sure you utilize that chat box to go ahead and say hello. Let us know your organization so we can see the different types of nonprofits that we have on the call today, as well as your name and where you're joining us from. And we will go ahead and get started shortly. All right, well, we are at the top of the hour, so I'll go ahead and get started with our slides so we can make sure you guys get all of the info that we have ready for you today. Today's session will be recorded, so no need to worry about writing down any notes. You will get a copy of the recorded session as well as the copy of the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to be sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and get started so we can get a clean recording. Welcome to our session today, hosted by Life Event Staffing and Arriva. This is Didn't Raise Enough from Your Last Event. Here's why and how to make sure it never happens again. Before we get into introducing our fantastic panel that we have joining us, just a reminder that this is an interactive session. We want to hear from you. So if you have any ideas that you'd like to share, any questions that you have for our panel during the presentation, don't hesitate to go ahead and include them in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of the screen, or in the chat box. We love to hear from you guys. If you're resonating with anything that you're hearing, if you've done anything before, maybe you have questions, please go ahead and ask away. All right, so introducing our panel, we have Lauren Batterby, who is the founder and CEO of Life Event Staffing. How are you today, Lauren?
Hi, I'm very well. Thank you, Gabby. Thank you so much for having me on this webinar, one of our top topics that we like to talk about.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. We have David Blyer, who is the co-founder, president, and CEO of Arriva. Hey, David, how are you?
Oh, Gabby, great. I'm really excited about today's event. I want to, first of all, just thank both Ken and Lauren for joining this. And I really appreciate the audience that is here today. And hopefully you'll walk away with some really great information and some really great tips.
Thanks, David. And last but certainly not least, we have Ken Cleve, who is the co-president of Arriva's Microsoft Auction Software Division. Thanks for being here today, Ken.
My pleasure. Good morning and good afternoon, depending upon where you're located. Happy to be here, and thanks everyone for taking your time today. I hope you leave with some really good information.
Thanks. And my name is Gabriella Salemi. I'm the Director of Marketing here at Arriva, and I will be moderating today's session. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. You're going to see a poll pop up on your screen. We're going to be asking some questions just to gauge the temperature of the room and see what you guys are facing in your day-to-day work. But we want to know, how many fundraising events do you run a year? So you should see that poll pop up, and you have a few options that you can select from. And then we'll go ahead and share those responses so we can all see the majority of how many events we're running. All right, so going ahead and previewing those results, evenly split between 2, 3, and 4 events a year. Majority of you are running 3 events a year, about 27%, but kind of split across all of that. Next question, we want to know, do you host a live or silent auction at your event? So you have a few options to choose here. You can say that you either host just a live auction, you either host just a silent auction, or you incorporate both of them as part of your event. That's really important because we're going to be giving different ideas for how to boost live auction revenue as well as silent auction revenue. So it's helpful for us to see how many of you are doing one, the other, or both. All right, so looking at these results, 53% of you host both a live and silent auction, and 47% of you host just a silent auction. Very interesting to see. Next question, we would like to know, do you hire outside services to help with your events, such as event planners, event staffing companies, or other vendors? All right, so on almost evenly split here, 40% of you are using some kind of vendor that you're hiring to help with your events, and 60% of you are not. One question we want to ask is, do you have to move your event data into a donor relationship management database after your event, and is that time consuming? We see organizations all the time that they host an event. Maybe that's, the ticket sales. Maybe you're selling tickets through one platform, and then you have to take that data of who purchased tickets, move it into a donor management database, update all that information so your records are complete. But we all know that that can be pretty time consuming, especially considering you're trying to steward those attendees that came to that event. So we want to know, is that something that's time consuming, and would it be beneficial if you didn't have to move that data anymore? All right, so more than half of you said yes, 55%. You are having to move that data around, and it is time consuming. 12% of you are not sure, and that's okay as well too. And 33% of you said no. And last question before we pass it over to our panel here. Have you ever used team fundraising or peer-to-peer fundraising to help promote your event or fundraise before your event? So we see a lot of clients incorporate these into their events as an additional way to raise funds. And we're going to cover this a little bit later, but we just wanted to see if you guys have ever experienced incorporating peer-to-peer or either team fundraising or maybe both as part of an event. All right, so looking at the results here, really interesting to see 56% of you have never used peer-to-peer or team fundraising. 19% of you have used peer-to-peer fundraising, 3% of you have used team fundraising, and 22% of you have used both as part of events. All right, thank you all for answering those. And now we are going to pass it over to our panel conversation. I think David is going to go ahead and kick us off.
Well, I'm really glad to be here. I really appreciate everybody. And I think this is all about why we're having the event and the goals. And when you're really thinking about the monetary goals and how much do you want to raise, it's not just about how much you want to raise, but I think setting a specific fundraising goal gives your team a target to rally around. It helps shape your budget, uh, pricing out your tickets, and the ask strategy behind this. I also think being realistic, but also being very aspirational are a good thing. But what's achievable based upon your past events and what would be meaningful growth look like for you? And I think those are some of the things when you're looking at the monetary goals. In the non-monetary goals, I think there's a lot of great things that can really help you. And if we just went around briefly on the circle, when we talk about, everybody's talking about today, right? Acquiring new donors, talking about how do I reactivate lapsed donors. We're talking about donor retention. We're talking about donor acknowledgement. But what does that really mean, in this scenario, especially when you're running an event, and how can that really help you? So, when you think about acquiring a new donors, I think these are one of the best. There's a lot of different ways of acquiring your donors, but since we're talking about specifically events, I also believe that this is one of the really good, best entry points for new supporters, especially those who come as guests of table hosts or sponsors. So you got to think about, are you getting their information? How are you reaching them after the event? They are new potential donors on this. When you're thinking about reactivating lapsed donors, this is a chance to re-engage supporters who may have drifted away for whatever reason. And if they did come, remind them why they cared in the first place. What is your mission? I mean, these are things that you want to mention during the event, of course, why we're doing this, where the money's going. On the donor retention side, a well-run event really builds loyalty. You just don't want to, and I know we all want to, build a phenomenal event. So the experience should reflect the impact of their giving, why they're continuing supporting, what this matters to them. And And those are really important things. And again, we talk about acknowledgement for donors and volunteers. Uh, it's one thing to receive an automatic thank you acknowledgement receipt. And I know our system does this, many systems do this, but it's more than that. Recognition is so powerful. And your event can serve as truly one, a public thank you, and a private reaffirmation of their values. So when you really think about this, acknowledgement, however you're doing this, even if it's after the event, and when I say after the event, not a month after the event, but if there's even a way to segment out people and call them within the next, 48 hours to 72 hours and acknowledge them that way, these things will resonate with your individual constituents. When we talk about board participation, I've heard a lot of different things about different boards. Some are active, some are not. How do I get them more? Events offer a great platform to truly activate your board in a very visible way. Maybe you announce them as an ambassador of this event or a host of this event, or maybe they have something that they could really share from storytelling. But get your board to truly participate and figure out from each one of them, because everyone's a little bit different. Some feel good about being an ambassador, some feel good about storytelling. You just really need to know what that is that will allow them to really want to participate even more and truly be comfortable around that. And then when you think about increasing, awareness, every guest is truly a potential messenger. I mean, we're all messengers. If it's good, we're talking about it. I mean, we talk about Facebook and what way they do. We talk about Instagram, but events, that is the time that you tell your story well. Naturally expands your reach more than you'll ever know. So if you can carry that message about what you're doing, the impact that it's having, the impact that the money is doing, the programs that you are providing, whatever that is, and people leave that, they will carry your message for you. And when you think about increasing volunteers, volunteers are great. People who volunteer at or attend your event may take the next step into ongoing services. It's about opening up new doors. I mean, some volunteers can give their time, they can't give their money, but they also have access to people that may have money or maybe want to do other things for your organization. So really, this is an opportunity to really increase those volunteers and do something different. I think the most successful events are designed with intention, not just to raise money, but to build a stronger, more connected community, around your mission. And I think these are some really good points that starts out with the event. I don't know, Lauren, Ken, anything that you'd like to add to that?
Thanks for asking. I think that most people will overlook the opportunity to identify new major donors that they can cultivate because they're guest ofs. So, and we'll touch on that in a little bit when I offer some additional suggestions. But it's really, really important to be aware of who's in the room so you can continue to cultivate that relationship, as you mentioned.
Yeah, I love the word messenger. I think you've coined that now. I think that was ideal because that's exactly what everyone should be leaving with, whether you're a volunteer donor, major donor, or guest of, with that vibrant feel of enthusiasm towards the brand, the nonprofit, and being able to pay that forward for it's an ongoing, isn't it? It's not just the night of, it's that ongoing presence. So yeah, messenger, David, I like that.
Thanks, Lauren. Well, I could talk on this subject for so long because I truly believe in the whole concept of team fundraising to an existing event. I mean, I think this is one of the better ways. I'm not going to say the smartest way to build a pre-event energy and raise more money before guests even walk into the door. I think by launching a team campaign leading up to your gala, your walk, your dinner, you can expand your donor pipeline. You can create early investments from your audience. I mean, people can't attend can still contribute and feel included, which truly just increases, the total giving. I love team fundraising also from the concept. I'm seeing an evolution and I think we have a good example up here. Ronald McDonald House is up here that is doing it. It's one thing when you're running the event itself and setting up a registration, and then as an organization, you're sending out your email marketing campaigns and you're trying to get your sponsors to do this. But when you combine the combination of a team event and team concept and have team captains, and then combine that with peer-to-peer fundraising and the event registration, you're building out a platform. And at the same time, depending upon your revenue goal that you're really trying to achieve, what we're seeing is revenue is being doubled because of the captains. It's not just about the events, and the captains are getting out there even further. When you think about, cultivating increased donor involvement, this is where engagement deepens even further. And with team fundraising, it gives your supporters a different way to share why they care, right? I mean, when they create their personal fundraising pages and they tell their story, they're no longer just donors. They really become what I'll coin ambassadors for you. That kind of emotional investment will drive new donor acquisition. And there's a lot more to do on the new donor acquisition. And it also really achieves some sort of long-term loyalty. So there's a lot here in just the concept of team fundraising. And then we talk about gamification, with real-time leaderboards. I really love this because it truly turns fundraising into an experience, not just a request, right? I mean, you'll have real-time leaderboards and meters and team progress dashboards that it's giving fun, right? It's competitive, it's social. I mean, you're playing against each other, but you're playing for the same cause. You're really on the same team, but you want to do better than the next guy, right? I mean, I've seen it on leaderboards where my buddy gave $50. Well, of course, I got to give more than that, right? So it really generates a lot of wonderful things, and campaigns, often raise significantly more than just showing who's winning in real time. I mean, it keeps people engaged and encourages them to do just a little bit more. And I mean, I really could talk a lot more about this, and I wish we didn't have limited time, but the evolution of this whole team fundraising concept around your event can really expand it a lot more, and it can generate a lot more awareness. It can generate a lot more raising of funds at the same time. And it really does offer that true competitive, enjoyable experience for the people that are involved. And don't forget, always acknowledge and thank them. The other thing that this does, on team fundraising is when the donors are sending this out, this also ties back to donor acquisition because they are bringing in new donors. So just keep that in the back of your mind too. And there's other things to generate that new donor acquisition growth. On average, I think this quote was 20% of all donors will refer another donor through peer-to-peer fundraising. And again, this is another great way to expand, your reach to potential new donors. It's another way to create donor acquisition. It's another way about retention. And obviously, it's another way, if it's set up right, that you're getting immediate notifications back to people and acknowledging them. But overall, peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns really have been proven to be highly successful. I'm just trying to look back on 56%, 19% of used peer-to-peer fundraising, which when you really think about it, it's another amazing way that can generate so many other things. But it's one of the most effective donor acquisition strategies because it really does expand your reach through personal endorsements. I mean, it's individuals that are doing this out to their friends. And not only, if it's set up right, not only out to their individual friends, because they're sending out a personal email with a link back to your nonprofit. And that's what's important. And you're capturing anybody that's giving to that host, right? You're capturing all of that information. So when someone is truly fundraising for you, they're giving your organization a really a warm introduction to people who they never would reach on their own. I mean, it really is amazing. It builds instant trust. It's the first hurdle in any donor relationship. from that perspective. I think, developing, engaging, you know, aren't just a plug and play. They're truly story driven. I've seen where they're writing their own story and how it's focused within the community, or when they're empowering the board, right? The volunteers, the donors with compelling messages, giving them clear goals and simple ways of doing this, they become more of your frontline fundraisers. I mean, but you've got to give them something that makes it easy for them to really do further outreach. And I really believe that peer-to-peer fundraising is just that message. And it just doesn't, it's not just about raising the money. It truly raises visibility. It truly deepens engagement. It truly helps with donor acquisition. Um, and then on the encouraging of and enabling supporters to create personal fundraisers. I mean, it doesn't always have to be board members or volunteers, but you got to give people the ability to create these personal fundraising pages with themes and stories. I mean, you've got to give them that direction. You're offering them a meaningful way for them to connect and identify to your mission. Obviously, if they're already active, they understand it. But there's other things that you could do to really help them, with the campaigns. It helps the general appeal, right? I mean, they've got to be authentic in it. It's got to be, the emotion behind this has to resonate, obviously, with their audience, which they'll do. And these are really amazing ways to really highly share what you're doing out there. You can also do team challenges. I mean, team-based fundraising adds a layer of motivation. We talked about it a little bit earlier. It invites people, to form little groups. Maybe it's with their family, maybe it's with their friends, maybe it's with their coworkers. We've seen this model increase the participation rates. I mean, we actually can measure all of this. We see it drive higher average gifts. It helps convert one-time donors into truly long-term supporters. And because people are having fun while they're doing this, we always talk about having fun, right? Everybody wants to have fun doing it. You want to be motivated on it. You don't want it to be boring. But I really think this whole concept around this, and then when you're doing sort of fundraising events, when you have a supporter that hosts a fundraising event for your organization, they become a champion for your cause. I mean, this is grassroots modeling that is multiplied, in your fundraising capacity without requiring a lot of significant resources from your organization. Just with a little bit of guidance and branding support, these peer-led type of events often bring in new donors, and it also helps, advocate within your community. I love social media campaigns too. I mean, we do a lot. I truly love doing it. And you need to make it easy for people to promote your cause, right? Providing them maybe with a pre-written social post or maybe an image or a video. It removes the friction, allows them to focus on sharing, right? So really help them with doing that. So it's not only increases participation, but it keeps your messaging aligned, your brand consistent. And that is truly critical to donor trust and recognition. So, make sure that you're really providing that, not just saying, here's peer-to-peer fundraising. That's good. It's different. I don't want to, using like a non-peer-to-peer fundraising isn't going to help with all of that. So you've got to really want this to be tied to your organization. And then when you just think about matching gift opportunities, I mean, these are really interesting. Don't overlook matching gifts as part of your peer-to-peer strategy. It should be embedded into it. When your fundraisers can promote matching dollars, and whether you've integrated matching gifts, I know we have done both. You can have a peer-to-peer fundraising, you can have a matching gift, and you put the name of your company in, or maybe you want to have it integrated through double the donations. Either way, I think matching gift, it boosts urgency, it doubles the impact. I mean, it really does a lot of things. It positions your organization as one of the, one that maximizes every gift. I mean, which is especially appealing to first-time donors brought in through peer appeals, right? I mean, these are really good things. So that's pretty much what I've got to say on the peer-to-peer fundraising. I could talk more on that front as well.
This is all me.
This
So
is
let's
all you,
talk
Ken.
about
Thank you.
it. Is thank you. Yeah, thank you, David, for the overview. let's talk about real quickly pre-event, right? So the reason why we're here is that we've had events in the past, might be a silent auction, live auction, or a component thereof. Here's some strategies, and we can go into more detail. Just make sure at the end of the webinar that you mark that yes, you would like a free consultation, because I want to be, in the interest of time, brief but as explanatory as possible. Underwriting. Underwriting are sponsors or organizations, corporations within your town that may not have an item to donate, but they are willing to cover the cost of, let's say, the bar. They'll cover the cost of wine, or the wine is underwritten by a particular vineyard in your location. They will underwrite the event staffing. They'll underwrite the auctioneer. That way, you're at least in the black or close to break even before your event even begins. I made a note here, those are expenses, right? Because we all have expense lines of things we need to cover, catering, etc. Items as well. Oftentimes, clients wish to use consignment items for larger trips that they could not acquire on their own. Those are easy to be underwritten by a local organization, maybe a law firm or an accounting firm that may not have an item they can donate, but they're willing to contribute to your organization. Sponsorships and tables. One of the things that I wanted to call out here is the different levels of sponsorships and the benefits that those levels receive. So let's pretend for a moment that you have platinum, gold, silver, and bronze levels of sponsorships. If you're selling sponsorships to corporations wherein they receive wherein they receive a table, let's say they're tables of 10, because that's pretty average, 8 to 10. If a company buys a sponsorship at the platinum level, they're your presenting sponsor. They also get a table. Make sure that you talk with the lead from that organization as it relates to the people that are at that table. If you have not received confirmation as to who's going to be sitting at that sponsor's table a week, maybe 2 weeks in advance, ask them if it's okay that you put people at their table, especially if there's signage. I'll use PepsiCo as an example. If PepsiCo buys a sponsorship at platinum level and they receive a table for that, if they know that there's a sign on the table that says this table sponsored by PepsiCo, they're going to want to make sure that the people that go there understand that this is a fundraiser. You're there. This is not a thank you for being a client of ours. You're there to help this mission raise more money for their cause. Advertising and tributes. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. With advertising as an example, and I brought props. So advertising, there for the same respect, there may be organizations that don't have an item to donate, but they're engaged in your mission. You can sell advertising on the bid cards. We're going to talk about these in a little bit. So everyone's seen these before, right? On the back of these, oftentimes they're printed on front and back. But with advertising, you can print on the back of the bid card that organization's logo or their message, so that every time the auctioneer is working on the stage and people are raising their bid cards, everyone behind them is seeing seeing the logo that's printed on the back of this. Whether or not you're using hard copy catalogs, which with right technology you can produce those out of the technology. Ours in particular, you can produce hard copy catalogs, or if you're using mobile bidding technology or websites or that sort of thing, make sure that the advertiser has the opportunity to get more impressions. So the impressions are back of the bid card, the impressions are within the catalog, the impressions are within the mobile bidding solution, so that their logo is appearing all of the time when people are participating in the event. Ticket sales, well, I call tickets in quotes because we're really talking about RSVPs. So we want to know who is available to attend the event. We've sold the mission in advance, letting them know that it's a fundraiser. So we may have different levels for those RSVPs. And that's where tiered pricing comes in. You may have a regular ticket that's an attendee and a guest. You may have a higher level ticket that's an attendee and a guest, and they get some sort of recognition. And they may have a higher level beyond that with that ticket, they get an upgraded bottle of wine, as an example. So the regrets donations, this is something that's important. Whether you're using a web page to receive the RSVPs and ticket sales, or you're doing it with a save the date card and a mailer, always make certain that you have a box that allows the attendee or the person you're inviting right? We all have mailing lists from in our DRM solution that we're inviting all kinds of people, right? Make sure that there's a box that they can check that say, hey, I'm unable to attend. However, here's my donation in lieu of attendance. That is actually that's incredibly important, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, because even if they are not attending and they can make a contribution and a donation, those are people that you want to track in the future. Say, hey, they can support our mission. Even though they did not attend the event, they're willing to make a contribution to the organization. Sustaining funds. This one's a little unique. Sustaining funds would be an organization or a corporation, ABC Corp, in your local community that's willing to make a contribution over the course of more than 1 year. So the local mortgage company says, hey, we're willing to be a sustaining sponsor of $5,000 per year for the next 3 years. So every piece of collateral material that you send out has their logo on it, thanking them for being a sustaining sponsor, and that leads to the next event, which will help you already have $5,000 towards your budget to cover expenses. So when you send out the invitation for next year, you say thank you to our sustaining sponsor, and that will encourage other organizations within your community to continue to or give consideration to being a sustaining sponsor for your mission going forward. Matching funds, as David mentioned earlier when it came to peer-to-peer and the team fundraising aspect, we would like people at the beginning during the RSVP to self-identify that their organization or their employer offers matching funds. You can track that with the right technology. So when you're sending out your invitations, make sure that there's an area, whether it's an email or a save the date card, that there's an area that allows the attendee to mark a box that says my employer has a matching funds program, and then write in the name of the employer. Makes it easy for you post-event. And then for the text-to-bid cell phone, text-to-bid is our solution name for mobile bidding. There's several things that organizations like to do, and I'd like to offer you consultation after the fact in the interest of time. But many people like to open it up in advance. Let's say, for example, that your event is this Saturday. You may have wanted to open up the event last Friday and invited guests to attend and participate in the bidding. There's really good ways to do that, and that ties into the advertising and the sponsorships, because those individuals will be able, the people that are participating will see the logo of the sponsor, they'll see the logo of the advertiser, and we've listed down here at the bottom. You can try now if you have your cell phones. You can text the keyword, open up a text message. The telephone number is 71760. It's referred to as a short code, and then the keyword is auction. Feel free to play around with that. Your information's not saved, and no one's going to call you from that. And you can bid on things too, and you won't be charged. But that's a very high level, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't overlook anything as I was running through that slide quickly. Lauren, was there anything that you wanted to comment to on this particular slide?
No, nothing at the moment. I think we're gonna come to a few on the night scenarios where we can include technology as we power through. Okay, coming on to my favorite bit. The on the night, during the event. Not to disregard anything that had just been said previously. Obviously, I did not mean that. But this is where my speciality lies. And unfortunately, more often than not, that fundraising gala, that annual event, can be the most stressful night of someone's entire year. And I think the key word or the key phrase to pick out from this slide is the calmest person in the room should be the chair of the event. And let's explain why. At the end of the day, it's about a team on the night coming together, whether it's nonprofit staff, whether it be the volunteers, or whether it be board members, whoever else who's coming in, vendors, sorry, that are coming in to assist with this event. And we really need to delegate. Now, this isn't a hierarchy of importance. This is about coming together as a team with the same goal on the night. So a key word here is delegate. You cannot wear every hat on the night. the job or the role of the chair or the executive director of the night, again, is to be calm, collected. It is to be the greeter, meeting those high profile guests and donors and making sure there is a generally calm environment and welcome throughout the entire night. No running round like headless chickens for EDs and chair people. Please, it is not a good look. That is what everybody else is here to assist with. So now I've highlighted that point. Let's home in on the people that can help and how to delegate those roles. I would say, firstly, know your volunteers. At the end of the day, these are the heart of your organization. These are the messengers, right? Coin the phrase. Love this. They are the messengers of the night. So these are the ones that should be mingling with your guests, the smile of the organization. It doesn't matter sometimes what they are doing, as long as the guests feel acknowledged. So that being said, if Jean from accounting is not feeling so confident with an iPad, please don't put her at check-in with a mass of people approaching her all at once. We want to nurture our volunteers to make sure they actually want to come again and help next year, not run off in tears because they felt so overwhelmed by the task that they were giving. So please know your volunteers in advance and try and find their skill set and where it might lie, where they can assist on the night. Again, it might just be a smiling face walking around that silent auction area, just providing more of an insight into the nonprofit and why we are here that night. And if that's where Jean belongs, pop Jean over there. You might find it beneficial to invest in staff on the night to make sure that that technology is run properly. If you have people that you feel like are capable, again, mix them in together. But please do make sure you are delegating these tasks. You should not be the person behind a laptop on the night. There are plenty of trained people out there that are able to help you with this. Now I'm going to fall into training volunteers ahead of time. So if you do have people that feel savvy enough to be able to work a check-in, run the technology, lots of these technologies are extremely intuitive, and for just a small task of checking someone in on the night, lots of them provide these training materials that you can share with your volunteers. Maybe hold a group meeting for them a few days prior and just have a quick run through. Please just make sure they're prepared to know what their tasks are on the night. So this just doesn't pertain to the technology. This might be being able to assist where coat check is on the night, where are the bathrooms, where is the silent auction area, how do I usher people in through the door to the check-in area, and how do I find my table. So please make sure that they are just generally aware of your entire event and how they can assist. At the end of the day, we want to make sure every guest that walks in through that door feels acknowledged, comfortable, and catered for before their bottoms even touch those chairs. And that is where our volunteers have such a helping hand for us. Again, more, I'm going to say more is better than less. Of course it is. I also can, I hear a lot about how difficult it can be to keep volunteers and even find volunteers to be able to assist on the night. So if you are lucky enough to be able to have enough on the night, please have them there, have their presence known, make them feel valued on the night as well. Next slide, please. All right, now I have already run into to check in. So making sure you've got the right people in the right places on the night. Troubleshooters check in is another one as well. Even if people aren't able to answer the exact questions pertaining to that technology, make sure that person knows where to direct the guest to. No, I'm afraid I don't know the answer to that, but if you just go and speak to this person, they will be able to assist. So again, our volunteers do not need to have every ounce of knowledge in regard to the technology, but as long as they were able to help, they feel fulfilled that they have been able to help their guests on arrival as well. Designated volunteer ushering guests to check-in desk, as I just mentioned, and then train the volunteers a day or two before. Sorry, I pushed myself forward. I did 2 slides in the first slide. Thank you.
Well, good for you. Nice job. But I think, and I want to comment to everything you just added before we move on to the next slide, if you don't mind. That's the benefit of having professional event staff, professionals like yours at Life Event Staffing, is that while you can have volunteers, it's always nice to have someone they can go back to be a troubleshooter. Hey, I'm not familiar with a solution like Life Event Staffing is. Life Event Staffing is here to help support the event. Thank you for your question. Let me go get an expert, and that expert is your organization. So that's why I think I just wanted to comment to that. So you didn't have to do your own commercial.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. What we quite often do as well is make a bit of a buddy system. Like, we are totally happy to work alongside volunteers. I actually recruit a lot of volunteers because some of them are so good on the night. And if we set a life event staff alongside a volunteer and so on throughout check-in, they have always got someone on hand to be able to ask any questions to that they might struggle with. Again, like you said, the same to the ushers on the floor who can push people in that direction. All right, so things that can be done prior to the event, which will assist and make things a little bit smoother on the night. Signing table seating seems like a really obvious one. I've seen it go wrong in the past. So making sure you have clear communication with your guests about assigning their tables. At this point as well, I would always ask as a best practice that we do have a member of the nonprofit at that check-in with us who knows these high-profile guests and high-profile sponsors. So if they do have any questions in regard to the table management or their tickets or their guests of, that you do always have someone from the nonprofit there that is able to assist the team of staff and volunteers. Assigning bidder numbers, pre-assigning bidder numbers, and making sure you have your check-in set up in order to be able to delegate those correct numbers. Now, alphabeticalized lists is what we are promoting here. So basically, when somebody arrives, you know the name Batterby, I know exactly where I'm going to, and then those pre-assigned bidder numbers are right there at that table, so that volunteer or check-in staff knows exactly where to find it in the pile. Another thing I ask as well that we see go terribly wrong so many times is make sure your volunteers understand the why behind a bidder number. And I know that sounds silly. The why is because you hold it up in the air during a live auction. But why is it so important that it has to match what is in that technology? And without just explaining that, because it just has to, if you give them the why and the repercussions of what might happen if they get that wrong, then they will understand how crucial that it is. It is basically a new name for that bidder on the night, because that live auctioneer is not able to shout out John Smith is the winner every single time. So when he shouts out 211, 211 has to have a name attached to it in that system, or else we do not know who 211 is. That could be anything from $2,000 to $20,000 missed on the night through a simple mistake of a volunteer maybe just not understanding and just handing out a bidder number thinking, oh, this is just a free giveaway for the night. Here you go. This is for the fun game later where you wave it around in the air, right? Making sure they understand the why. And I've got very passionate about that. I just have seen it go wrong so many times. And again, it's quite simple. They will understand once explained to them. So as long as they know as they're giving that out, you have already prepared them and set them up for success for the evening. The printing of bid cards. Again and again, please think about it logistically. If you are an auctioneer standing on a stage, you could be 50 feet away from that back table. You're not going to see this teeny tiny little bid card. even if the lights are on full, which we have had sometimes, making sure auctioneers say like lights up please, so they can read. They are human, they can only see so far, so the bigger the better. The big cards, again on the night, is just super helpful to the auctioneer. He can shout out, she sorry, can shout out that number, and then your on-site team are able to make those notes down, whether they're putting it directly into that technology or taking note. That's actually another point to just circle back to when we were talking about volunteers that I should have mentioned a role. If someone has never seen a live auction in action before and maybe is a bit of a wallflower, a little bit timid, please don't put them in the center of a live auction. Having to be a bid spotter, that's really not where they belong either. You want your strong, confident, loud people in the middle of that room being able to shout out and rave and really create this atmosphere during the live auction as well. That is what our auctioneer is after. He needs his cheerleaders in order to be able to do so. And he also needs that trust that whoever is taking down these details, as he shouts out that number, that amount, and that bidder number, that it is being taken down correctly, and again is transferred directly into that platform to make sure that money is collected at the end of the night. So again, 3-digit numbers. Now I'll give you a why for this, because I've also seen this happen. If you were to start your bid numbers at 1, 2, 3 and upwards, for starters, a lot of technologies don't necessarily accept that. They will only start with 3 digits. But if you were to start at 1, and I had one event where they used their bid card to write the person's name on, write the bid number, starting at 1, and then they had their table number on the back, 2. So you could be bidder 1, sitting at table 2. Well,
Holding up their own.
which one's which? Which one are you? But it sounds crazy. It happened. It was a mix-up. It was extremely unfortunate, and they had teeny tiny little bit of cards as well. It just needn't have happened. It needn't have happened on the night, as long as they'd just gone back and done this pre-event setup, or maybe just had the knowledge. But that's why we're here, right? Lastly, leads more into being able to assist our volunteers for a smooth checkout, printing labels and materials beforehand to connect those item descriptions to the items that are being handed out on the night, whether it's corresponding numbers or item names, whatever it might be, to make sure that silent auction, when those items are moved, they can be handed out in a streamlined manner at the end of the night. And we also have lots of best practices surrounding that. And because we are moving on, if anyone has any questions in regard to any of the best practices that I have covered, from check-in, live auction, paddle raise, and to checkout, please do just shoot me questions afterwards, and we can do a more personalized to your event. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren. In the interest of time, I'm going to continue to speak quickly, like I normally do. So this is just something for you to give consideration to, everyone. It's what the average buying unit can spend when they walk in the door. So we consider buying unit. You can see the math right here. So 300 people divided in half, because they're typically couples, is 150 buying units. On average, let's use $750. We want to give them the opportunity to spend that $750. And we're going to, in a couple of slides, we're going to talk about some of the different strategies to make sure that we extract all of the money out of the room. We have one of our chief auctioneer likes to say open wallet surgery. So we know how much they can spend. We want to try to get more of that than possible, or more than they walked in the door with in their brain, because we want to sell the mission. Another thing that I wanted to touch base on here is that every bidder will eat, but not every eater will bid. So we want to make sure that from the very beginning of the invitation through the night of the event, people are walking in the door understanding this is not a garage sale. This is a fundraiser. We're going to sell the mission, and we are looking for your support. So selling a tickets to party is easy. We don't want to throw a party and hope to make money. We want to start a fundraiser and make sure everybody has a great time. So the next slide here, one of the things that I wanted to chat about here very briefly, and I'll go through these real quickly, is that it starts with the pricing of your meal on your RSVP card, or email invitation, depending upon the technology that you're using. If it's an $85 chicken dinner, you want to charge more than $85, right? That way it, from the very beginning, lets the attendee know that this is a fundraiser. Then that, again, this is clarified on our RSVP form or the email invitation. We'd also like to provide a place for the guest to make an additional contribution. So if I'm purchasing a $125 ticket, make sure that there's an area for them to make an additional contribution in advance of the event, right? Yes, I'd like to donate an extra, what have you. If your technology like ours has a roundup feature or a cover the credit card processing fees, you want to make sure that those are both available for the attendee when they're buying their ticket to attend or RSVPing to attend. Allow them to check that box to help cover the credit card fees or round up. What we call it round up. Let's say, for example, that the attendee spent $950. If they mark the roundup button, it will round it up to the nearest 100, so their $950 contribution became a $1,000 contribution. Also, touching back again on the matching gifts, we want to make sure that they have a place to list whether or not their employer has a match. You're not going to do anything with it the night of the event, but with the technology, you'll be able to follow up with them post-event so that they can submit all the proper paperwork. We'd like to provide a place for the guest to opt out, but allow them to make a donation anyway. I touched on that on the first slide I spoke to. It's like, hey, you know what? I'm sorry we can't attend, but we'd still like to contribute to the mission and help you raise money for what it is you're trying to deliver. The tiered pricing. So this is something that I think is important. We talked about this on the first slide I spoke to. You have a regular ticket, but then you have different levels of tickets. And those different levels of tickets may come with additional benefits, as I mentioned, upgraded wine or preferred seating, or if you buy the highest level ticket, let's call that the patron level, they are allowed to come to the event. Your doors open at 5 on average. Allow them to come to the event at 4 p.m. and mingle with other patron level donors and visit with the executive director, or maybe have a demonstration, or have one of the recipients of your mission's dollars. Let's say, for example, that you raise money for wheelchairs. Maybe you have somebody there who's a benefactor of your mission so that they can actually talk to the people that are benefiting from the reason why we're raising money. So again, I can't emphasize enough, you have to be clear that it's a fundraiser. A lot of people can throw a great party, but it's very difficult to make money at a party if they don't know it's a fundraiser to begin with. Here's a couple of other things to do during your event. Wine, I'm going to touch on these real quickly, but over on the right-hand side, you'll see it's kind of like a wheel of fortune. I think many of us are familiar with wine or spirit pools. Oftentimes there's a bunch of corks. They have numbers in them. They put them in a fishbowl. People will spend $30, $40 on the ticket. They'll have the opportunity to pull out a cork. The cork has a number written on it. That number is corresponding to a bag that may have a bottle of wine in it. The wine spinner allows people to buy the same ticket, spin the bottle of wine, and then when it lands on the bottles, that's the bottle that they win. So, and this is an easy way to get this if you don't have a winery in your area, is ask your board to donate, each of them donate 3 bottles of wine. Tell them the lowest cost price that you want. It's like nothing less than $25, and have everybody at the next board meeting bring in 3 bottles of wine. You've then created a wine pool. That's a way for us to get as much money out of the room as possible, because there might be people there that's like, yeah, I've got $750 that I'm going to spend, and there's nothing really here in the silent auction I'm interested in buying. Well, this is an opportunity for them to take away something from the event and get more money out of their wallet. Dinner or dessert upgrade, this is something that you have to do in advance with your catering and your auctioneer. Let's presume that everyone's having a chicken dinner. You've advanced, talked to your catering team, and the catering team says, hey, you tell them, hey, we want 10 filet mignon dinners. So before dinner is served, the auctioneer will say to the team, hey, or say to the groom, everybody has some great news. Everyone's going to eat tonight. The bad news is you're all going to eat chicken. Wait, what's that? the catering team says, hold on a second, or you can have the executive director say, we have 10 filet mignon dinners. And the auctioneer will say, hey, who wants filet mignon instead of chicken? Everyone in the room is going to raise their bid paddle, right? Then what the auctioneer does is he can sell that dinner, that upgraded dinner or dessert, to one specific table. So they turn it into making it against the whole room. It gets the bidding active. You see these bid cards flying up in the air, and then dinner is served. Everyone that didn't win it gets the normal dinner. The table that did bid the most gets the upgraded dinner. Dessert dash, very quickly. If dessert is not part of your meal ticket, you will set up desserts. It could be anything, and I used this example earlier, from a plate of wrapped Twinkies all the way to a very deluxe 3-tiered cake or a trifle or something like that. Everyone that walks into the ballroom is going to see that and think, wow, why are all those desserts sitting there? Dessert dash allows the opportunity for everyone at a table to pass a card around. They write their bid number and the dollar amount that they're willing to spend. The highest raising table is the first choice for choosing their dessert. So that's the incentive for actually paying more money, getting more money out of the room, and then they have the opportunity to select a dessert from the table. So whoever doesn't spend the most money is going to end up with the wrapped plate of Twinkies. The overvalue bidding sponsor is an interesting one. The example that we use is a Master Builders Association. Had an organization that wanted their name, had a sponsor that wanted their name mentioned as much as possible. So the overvalue bidding sponsor said that they would match every dollar up to, I think it was maybe $10,000. Every dollar for a bid that was above the value of the item. So let's say, for example, it's a $1,000 item. The winning bid was $1,200 or $1,200. The title company would match that $200 up to, they would double it. So the organization was able to make $1,400 versus the $1,200. And the auctioneer and the MC would comment that, hey, thank you so much for a generous title company sponsor for adding an additional $200 or $200 to the value of the item. And those are just a few things. There's things that we can talk about with a technology like bucket raffles. Some people call them. There's star raffles, blue line, yellow line raffles, all of those things. Depending upon the technology and your audience, during a free consultation, we can walk you through that. 3 minutes.
Yes, Ken, those were great. I put a poll up on the screen. These are just some of the revenue boosters that we talk about. We have thousands that could be great for your event. We're happy to do a tailored consultation to share some. Just go ahead and hit yes if you'd like us to reach out, and we can see which revenue enhancers would go best with your event. All right, moving on.
All right, thank you. Ken, I love the dinner upgrade. I've not seen it done. I want to see it done. I think that's a brilliant idea. Yeah. As long as someone's not vegetarian, right? All right, moving on to checkout. The key to checkout is guest communication. And this is, again, some way you can use your volunteers. They should know from the word go exactly what time their auction is closing and exactly what time checkout begins, right? So even there's always going to be those guests that want to leave early. Unfortunately, if checkout's not open yet, it's not open yet. If you're using a technology, you can definitely pay on your phone. This is very simple information that you can give to your volunteers and staff, again, to be able to assist those guests on the night. Now, when you've done your smooth check-in, your next defeat, I suppose, your next mountain is your checkout. Right. So you want to make sure that goes as streamlined as possible. So again, having the right people in the right places, guest communication, and making sure your items are clearly labeled. Right. Those are your key things when it comes to your checkout. My best practice, or as the company's best practice, I would say that you make sure you've got your transaction team. So the people that are taking those payments, putting those into the system, ensuring that every guest is has paid. And then usually what I would suggest to do is have these labels or even post-it set up where you can write the name of the winner and then the item number and hand it to a runner, which is usually a volunteer. All they then need to do is go grab the item and bring it back. And Mr. Smith has hardly been waiting at all. And we keep a smooth line flowing. So as soon as you finish your transaction, you move over to a different area. That is your item collection. Off you go. Making sure that you also have the availability of carts if you do have larger items, and enough members of your team to assist in carrying those items out to cars possibly. And also an area, or make sure, are you offering an option where they can pick up at a later date, and make sure you've got somewhere to store those clearly with the winner's name, and make sure that item number is on there, and maybe details of when they have asked in order to be able to pick that up. So as long as you hit those key points of your checkout, you really can keep it running nice and smooth and get people out that door as fast as possible.
It really is bookends, isn't it? It's the first impression and the last impression. First impression
Absolutely.
has to be smooth. Everything in the middle is going to be okay. You're going to raise money. And the lasting impression is when people want to go home. Make sure that it's smooth, because we want them to be continuous donors and invite other people, right, next year. So having professional staff assists with that without question. A couple of things I want to touch on before I hand it over to David here are matching funds. Like we mentioned that earlier, we want that on the RSVP form, the email, what have you. Let them identify whether or not their employer allows for matching funds. And then the employer match, you can also do so if you have some volunteers or maybe some event staff that you can go on to the Boeing is a big one here. In my neck of the woods, I'm in Seattle, so I have Amazon and Google and Microsoft and Boeing. All of those do employer matches. Most organizations here in our locality already have the forms available, so that when they send their thank you card to their top 10 major donors or the people that have marked matching gifts, they supply them with the materials that they need to fill out to then submit to their HR department so those matching funds can be made. Sell again is something that I wanted to mention to you. This often is whether it's a donation. Let's say, for example, that I have a cabin in the mountains on the lake. That might be an item that I've donated to the organization that I support. In advance, you might want to ask me, the donor, whether or not I can sell it a couple of times. Consignment items are also good for this, where you can sell them 3, 4, 5, 7 times. But this is really good for any of you that have somebody in your organization that has something that's unique, because unique experiences are the things that we see selling best. And that may be another session, so I don't want to get too deep into this. But verify whether or not you have an item that can be sold more than once. That's where I'll leave it. David, do you want me to hand it to you? We're talking about donors and like guest ofs and that sort of thing, so thank you.
No, and I love the matching gifts. I think it's more than just giving them a form. I think you even have to make it sometimes even easier. When it is on their donation page or the event page, when they're filling it out, having that right there online, having a matching gift, whether they're just putting in the name of the company or if they've integrated with a company like Double the Donations, that does it automatically. But make it easy for them, because people don't always want to fill out forms. And in the case where you don't have that on your technology, then I would defer to the suggestion of a form. But technology should make it easier. When the event's over, I think you got to use every touch point, before, during, and even after the event is, and always clearly communicate your mission, inspire in a way of ongoing support. And support isn't always just about raising money. I also think, I know there was a statistic here about moving data after the event, and I think half of the audience said, yes, we move the data. You shouldn't have to move the data, whether you're using an event application or an auction application. All of this should be integrated directly into your donor relationship management database. So you're eliminating that administrative task. Integration is critical for so many things, whether it's donor tracking, whether you're doing a personalized outreach, whether it's a better way of fundraising, but it also streamlines those processes, and it allows you to increase, believe it or not, and building these best practices out of increasing your donor acquisition and increasing your donor retention and faster acknowledgement. It's all about the integration piece of this. And automatic acknowledgements are great. Personalized thank yous build trust. They encourage future giving. They really do. I mean, I could go into this subject a lot, but people don't understand why. And when I say even about retention, even after the event, retention doesn't mean you lost a donor, but they could be giving a little bit more, could be giving a little bit less this year after 10 years of giving $1, and now they're giving 50 cents. So acknowledgement is key. It's not just about the donors, but it's also about the internal, staff, keeping everybody informed and engaged. I mean, continuously. And it should be the board members, the volunteers, any constituent. And then donor relationships don't end when the event does. Truly think about this and use tailored communication based upon donor interest. I mean, I talk about this all the time. One message should not be the same message, and you've got to really know the generational gaps. I mean, we talk about that a lot. Understand where they're looking, understand what they want to hear, understand their giving history, and keeping them connected and motivated year round. And I don't just mean every single day, but and the last thing is, I'll end it with this, is I really believe in impact reports. I've seen amazing impact reports. I've also seen impact reports simplified even on websites. So the community knows how many meals they're doing, how many staff members they're training, how many programs they're supporting. But show donors exactly how your gifts make a difference. Use stories, use testimonials, whatever it takes, and customize by donor segment. I mean, you should be able to segment out in your donor database, and then strengthen those emotional connections and really demonstrate accountability. I mean, that's really what it is on the impact report. So, just remember, even after the event happens, don't stop.
Thanks, David. We have a few more slides here. I know we're at the top of the hour. We are going to do a Q&A session. We have some great questions submitted. So if you do want to stay on, we are going to get to that Q&A in a couple minutes here.
Well, I'm going to do this really fast. I want to thank everybody for joining us. And for those that don't know who Ariba is, we've been around for over 35 years. We have thousands of clients worldwide, primarily in the United States. Our clients, through the different applications, and we have many, have done over 30,000 plus live or virtual or hybrid or galas or golf outings, you name it. And I'm really proud to say that our software has been built for the nonprofit industry exclusively. I know you guys entered a poll, and I'd go to the next question for time, Gabby. There's a lot of great software out there, but I think one of the challenges out there is when you buy many applications, and everybody is doing it today, event applications, campaign, brands, team fundraising, peer-to-peer fundraising, text-based, auction software, donation platforms. But as you're growing and as you're adding, they're not communicating. And this is really causing an issue in the industry as a whole, because your communication with your constituents isn't consistent. It's limited. It's not reactive. It's reactive. It's not responsive. But the solution really is having an all-in-one, and this is really what we talked about earlier. And Ariba does provide the only all-in-one online fundraising, donor relationship management database, healthcare hospitality, and auction software with one unified database. Lots of applications, don't have to buy them all. I'm not here to sell it, but it's that integration and making it easier for your staff to streamline things. And if you want to learn more, we can certainly learn more about the benefits of that. But again, it's all these applications with one unified database and being completely integrated and automated. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, David. There is a poll on the screen. If you'd like to learn more about Ariba, someone from our team will reach out for a free fundraising consultation and demo.
Thank you. Okay, I get the final section. Lucky me. Anybody that doesn't or isn't aware of life event staffing, I'll give you a little bit of background of where we came from, because I think that actually makes everything seem much clearer. So every single one of my internal team has worked at a silent auction platform. We had the unfortunate situation of the pandemic, which I know no one wants to talk about anymore, but I promise you I'm a success story. So unfortunately, the first people to be let go, or the first things to go, were our on-site events. So I had this realm of people who were out of work, but still had this passion to want to help our nonprofits that they had been helping for years and years previously. We all came from the same technology platform, but I was actually approached by a friend at a different technology that said, hey, we know you know people and we'd love your help on site. Our clients are just really struggling to get the experienced and knowledgeable staff who understand what an auction is and those underlying features, like knowing exactly why a bidder number is so important. And we're really struggling to get the right type of people. So I spent a few hours on the phone, making sure I rang round to gather this wonderful group of people that were ready to get back out on site again and offer this skill set, which I realized that was actually so unique to what we did. We are not a staffing agency. We are not brand ambassadors who offer marketing experience events. We are purely fundraising and auction staff, and this is what we know best. We ran almost 1,300 events last year, and we have over 1,000 staff now across US and Canada. We have a training platform that we are extremely proud of, and we have managed to build our team all through internal referral, which I think is key because, again, be the messenger. If you're enjoying something, you will pay it forward and you will bring the right people on board. And so we are able to offer multiple of services on the night, again, to keep that executive director calm on the night and doing the job that they do best when on site, whilst we are able to do ours. We offer our event managers and event support, which is two different roles that we have. We operate across multiple fundraising silent auction platforms. You can visit our website to see more about our partners. As part of every package we offer, there's always going to be the 1 hour pre-event meeting directly with the person that is going to be on site with you, where you can give them all the ins and outs of your event and your run of show. We do on the night volunteer training, and we also offer a volunteer training package which will also assist your team with, again, exactly what an auction setup is. We offer the full registration and guest check-in, any form of troubleshooting in regards to bidding throughout the night, live auction spotting, appeal clerks, general tech platform support throughout the evening, all of the data entry and your checkout, and full management of your on-site team, whether they be from life event staffing or whether they be your volunteers. And we are a fully insured staffing agency when on site. So again, I think we can highlight quite simply that the benefits of using professional staff. You really do get your return on investment when you are using someone that knows what they're talking about and can really assist with those guests one-on-one in helping boost those bids. At the end of the day, that's what we're here for. That's what we want to incentivize: the use of technology, make sure it's used to its full potential, and you've got capable people with understanding, knowledge, and a heart for the organization as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. And there is a poll on the screen. If you'd like to learn more about life event staffing services for your next event, go ahead and hit yes, and someone from Lauren's team will be in touch with you. All right, we have a ton of great questions coming in, so let's get right into that Q&A. All right, so first question. We have a small team, and this year at our big event, it was hard to get volunteers. So I had a crazy evening wearing hats, kind of like you were talking about, Lauren. Any ideas on how to engage and excite our staff and parents to volunteer next year?
Yeah, I'm typing in a response right now, so thank you. I just saw that one. I figured out where the Q&A was. The answer is yes. Since you have a small team, I think that, can everyone see the response to that question in the Q&A, or does it go only to the sender? Because I'll speak it out loud unless everybody can see
I would share it, Ken, because I'm not sure.
Sure. Okay, thank you. So if you're having challenges getting volunteers, number one, all the people that should be like parents and the people that are benefiting from the mission ought to understand why we're doing a fundraiser, right? It's because we need to make money. So use volunteers, let volunteers get admitted to the event by volunteering. You don't get to become a bidder. but encourage them. They get, they have a separate section. They get some pizza and sodas for coming in and volunteering, but at least they get to be in the room. And that's a really good way, because a lot of people might not volunteer because they don't think that they can afford to attend, right? It's like, I'm a benefactor of the organization and I really can't afford a $150 ticket, and I'm embarrassed to volunteer. So offer them free food to get in the door. That's the simplest way. That's the first thing that came to mind.
I agree. I think with a lot of volunteering, again, I'm speaking broadly, that they want to give their time because they may not have the same finances as other guests in order to be able to do so. So again, if you can find a way of making them feel valued, or you asked in advance, giving them the plea, there is a need for these people. Let them know they're needed. They might not even know that you needed volunteers or what specific help you needed for your event. So don't be ashamed to put it out there, like calling anyone who's got some extra time that would like to come in and lend a hand, because you might find that you get more from it. And then you don't have to say, oh, you could be there for the entire night. How much time do you have? Can you help with check-in? What would you like to come and help with? It could just be helping sort out if you've got giveaway bags on the night, can you just lend 2 hours on the day of the event to come and help us fill those bags? Could it be just come and help label the silent auction items, set up the stand for us, or do you want more on the night? So give them options. They don't need to give. It's time. Again, I'm a mother of a 3-year-old. I need to know what you need me for. So when that babysitter is needed, and that's what I can put into my schedule. And you'll probably find there's a lot of people like that out there as well. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Lauren. And I know David, you answered this in the chat, but I thought it was an interesting point to maybe just highlight in the last few minutes here. This question was, how do we go about setting up a team fundraiser and peer-to-peer fundraising campaign? Do all CRMs offer this feature? We are currently using GiveSmart as our CRM and event platform, but I don't recall seeing that option available.
Yeah, no, thanks. Not all CRMs offer a built-in team fundraising or peer-to-peer fundraising capabilities. In many cases, they're always going out to a third party and using a team fundraising or peer-to-peer fundraising. And then that we go back to that data movement, right? Especially it's not fully integrated. So many platforms certainly do require third-party add-ons or software to do this. Which again leads back to the data silos that we talked about and the extra administrative work. I'm not here to sell you, but Exceed Further, I'm really proud about it as our flagship product. These features are seamlessly built into our software as an all-in-one. It's so easy for us to set up a team fundraising campaign. We've done so many, whether it's virtual or in person. Supporters can create or join teams. It sets goals. And they fundraise together, right? And then, like we mentioned earlier, peer-to-peer fundraising is extremely easy, but it really helps donors, board members, volunteers to create their personal fundraising pages, share them across their networks, track results in real time. But what's really important on that is when the donor is coming in and they clicking, that donation submit button, all of their relevant information instantaneously, just like Team Fundry, is all going into that donor relationship management database, automatically sending out an automatic thank you acknowledgement receipt and instantly sending a notification to the staff that, Lauren just gave a donation or Lauren just gave through peer-to-peer fundraising, which then generates that best practice concepts. So, all the activities, whether it's donations, all the way through all of our applications, it's automatically captured into, like I always mention, into one unified database. So there's no need for manually importing or syncing anymore. And GiveSmart is a good platform. I mean, we see them out there. They're an auction platform, event platform. But, like we mentioned, it's not integrated. It doesn't have all that functionality. And again, we bring it all under one roof. This is really one of the major differentiators for Exceed Further in the marketplace. Another really important thing is when you're using any of these third parties, and this is an important thing, I believe in this so strongly. But when your constituents are going and giving a donation, a peer-to-peer or team fundraising, they're being pushed off of your website onto that vendor's website. So your site engagement's going down. Unlike using Exceed Further, any of our applications, when they're on your website and they click anything using any of our applications, they're staying on your website. It's really cool how you can either keep them on that website, redirect them, or literally redirect them to another page on your website. Our clients are seeing a 215% increase in site engagement. It's really important because, like anything else, once you leave, they're gone. Thanks for the question.
Awesome. Do we have time for one more question? Really quickly in the same vein. This question, sorry, one second, it just closed out on me. There we go. In the vein of peer-to-peer and team fundraising, they would like some opinions on how to incentivize peer-to-peer fundraising and team fundraising and really drive that interest to participate there. Any tips for that?
Well, it depends, who's the audience and who are you trying to motivate? I think that I would really need to understand that so I could maybe answer that appropriately. If it's a board member and you're trying to, incentive a board member, there's a lot of different ways of doing it directly and indirectly. I've seen this extremely successful. I mean, we've had a lot of executive directors share us, some of my board members are not that active and they like coming to the meetings, but I can't help them, raise more money. So you can literally start by using a peer-to-peer concept, right? Peer-to-peer fundraising, like I mentioned earlier, isn't just about raising money. If your board is set up where they have a financial responsibility, whether to be on the board, it's $1,000, 10,000, 100,000, whatever that would be. It's not just about the money. So if you're giving them software like peer-to-peer fundraising as an example, and you're using this as a metrics on a board meeting, and you have a couple of board members in this case that are doing this, and they built the page. And by the way, I'm assuming that you've had a meeting, that you have peer-to-peer fundraising, that you're getting this out there. You've got a couple of board members. So in that next board meeting, you bring them up on a positive note, and you say, here's the goal, because you've got the leaderboard. And here's the goal. This is the measurement. Your goal was 1,000. By the way, you're at $800. I can't thank you enough because you're giving them a year to raise that money. But here's the important thing. You can actually thank them because you can track it with an Exceed Further in peer-to-peer fundraising and say, by the way, not only did you already raise the 800 of the $1,000, but you have contributed X amount of now donors because of the automation that it creates. This is about donor acquisition. And that is something from a board member's perspective. I've seen this become so successful. And I know if I have a financial obligation or I have a meeting, I'm not coming to a board member, and maybe I'll have a reminder for myself a week later, oh my God, I better start raising some money. But it really is a powerful thing. It's another way of engaging them and really sharing the results of what they're doing for you. It applies to team fundraising too. I think going back in history and explaining what they've done in the past is really important. But if you have specific things that you're challenged with and want to send that to me, I would be more than willing to share all of my ideas with you and thoughts.
And David, the person who asked that question, she actually just responded. She says, I was referring to fundraising levels for individual donors / teams. For example, if you reach 500, you receive a branded mug. If you reach 1,000, you receive a backpack. So that's an interesting idea too.
Oh, incentives. I truly love incentives. I mean, I've gone to a lot of events. I sit on a few boards myself, and I love this. You can have, and we talk about this, it's a whole thing, but if you get to this level, you will have a special tour within the facilities. If you do this, you will become an ambassador, and maybe you have an ambassador group, but they have to get to a certain point in order to achieve to get to that ambassador. Think about airlines, right? They did a great job. It's really interesting. Or hotels, they did a great job. Hey, people say, I want to stay at, I don't know, but Marriott, and only do merit because I'm trying to get the points. And if I get this amount of points, I get to stay at this amount of nights. Think about that from a nonprofit. What's important to people on a board? Do they want to become known as an ambassador? And it's not just about the money, but because they raise through peer-to-peer fundraising. So there's a lot. You're right, going down the exact great path, but it's more than just a mug. And maybe there's a certification that they also received in the mail and handwritten by you of because you achieved this level, you are now a certified, a different level. So send me some more information. I'll give you a lot more ideas on this front as well, but you're going down the right path.
Well, I think we are definitely over our time here, but this is great stuff. Thank you so much, Lauren, David, and Ken, for your fantastic insights today. It was truly a pleasure getting to hear you guys present and share all this information.
Thank you.
All right. And then for everyone on the session, thank you for joining us. We hope you will join us on our next Ariba webinar. You will be receiving a recorded copy of the session today, as well as a copy of the PowerPoint presentation to share with your team. Take some of these ideas, put them, in practice. If you request any demos, we will be reaching out. Thank you all so much, and we hope you have a great day.
Gabby, I just want to say thank you to the audience that stayed here over time. I want to thank Lauren. I mean, your experience with staffing and your ideas of scaling and helping people succeed at their events is by far probably one of the best event staffing companies I've ever met. And I'm glad we've had the ability to become a partner with you guys. Ken, your experience on auctions and your ideas are so meaningful, and we appreciate the way that you always share this. And we can't thank Gabby enough. If it wasn't for Gabby, we wouldn't all be here. She puts all this wonderful things together. The one poll we never do is, did you get some good information from this? And I wish we did a poll, but if you guys want to respond, yes, or if you didn't like certain information, we'd love your feedback, because this is what it's about. It's about you guys that are out there, the executive director, the development directors, the users. You guys are doing an amazing thing. I see some of them where you are doing and what you're doing, whether it's cancer or programs. We can't thank you enough, because you guys are the front lines of everything that is going on in the nonprofit space. So thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Everyone. All right.